Good Thursday morning. Good Lord. I was just sitting ready to say good Wednesday morning. Oh, the dogs are going nuts here. Hey, welcome to Ice Age TV. And wow, it's cold. Look at the windows here. Sun's kind of getting those all unfrozen or thawed out or whatever you want to call the frost up here in this Northern Virginia, Maryland area. And just beautiful day. Come on, let's go. Dogs are all riled up this morning. Know what that's going on. Don't know what that's all about. Dog's been barking to get out of the house, and when he tells me somebody's walking their dog down the street, which that turns into a fiasco. So, yeah, so it's Ice Age TV. Welcome to my channel. If it's the first time you're watching it, for others, they know the routine here. I walk out to my office every morning and got to get things in order to go to work. And I do my little morning conversation of my views and ideas and thoughts of the world around us. And oh, my barn didn't open up. What's that all about, right? This is one of these mornings where already you can tell it's complicated. Yeah, yes, actually I think my battery is going bad on my barn doors. It just seems like they're slowing down. So come on, pups. My first challenge here is to get my dogs up here, so I got to take a pause. Oh, they're wanting to be a pain in the butt this morning. That's the routine. So is this my day? Have I done this before? I've never had that feeling in your life, like I've been here, I've done this. And, you know, that kind of statement usually kind of references to you're living in the future. Yeah, like I've already been here. Yeah, I don't know anymore. I think we're living in the past. Come on, let's go. It's just oh my gosh, dogs. Very fine line in having dogs where they're actually enjoyable and they become a nuisance. Come on, let's go. Oh my goodness, yeah. See this morning? Yeah, am I getting an attitude? Yeah, how about that Maverick behind me? I think it's such a great vehicle. Wow, just phenomenal. And lights on in here, rocking chairs. I can't believe how long it took me to get figure out to get rocking chairs. That's just beyond believable. I mean, I just am stumped. Incredible. Us humans, we're unique individuals. If you can't admit to that, then you're just in denial. Yeah, but have you ever had that feeling like, hey, I've done this before? and I got to thinking about that this morning. I got to thinking, yeah, have I done this before? And once again, I think most people be like, yeah, that's you saying you were here in the future. No. This morning, I'm saying to myself, I think I've done this before. It's the past. All right, pups. Let's see the routine. It's cold up here this morning. Woo. Brr. Yeah, it's that time of year. We're into mid-October, and it's all going colder. We'll be getting definitely the season of change here upon us. And I got my other heater I got to get going here. I got the office here. It's really cold here. And anyways, so yeah, so I thought to myself, what's today's conversation? You know, I don't have like clip notes or somebody telling me what to do. What's interesting is I was watching the Your Advocate Alliance or Your Alliance Advocate, that car channel, the father and son. And they're talking about on their YouTube channel, some people kind of call them out because they think they're making a bunch of money, and suppose the father and son were, father more so, was kind of getting a little irritated in some comments. And so what they claim on their channel, they have 20 other people plus behind the scenes helping them make their content. And I've said this from the get-go. To have a successful YouTube channel, you know, you need a lot of help. You know, do this by yourself. I mean, it's all by myself. I have nothing in front of me, and if you look at what I'm reading or, you know, talking or whatever, you know, there's nothing in front of me. I'm just going off of ideas as I'm talking and what I think about. And yeah, am I the most dynamic guy in the world? No, I'm not here on my channel to be proven that by any means. I'm here on my channel to share my enthusiasm of cars. And to me, today's society is totally changing the passion for the Ice Age, which I've talked about every day of my life. And years ago, you know, I used to talk to my friends like I'm talking to you through my camera. You could ask people that know me, like, oh yeah, we'd hang out. We'd just talk about all these different ideas and views, like everybody. That's what you do. You hang out with your friends and talk, and that's a good thing to do. To share your stories and views and ideas without getting a big argument. But that's sometimes it's challenging. Yeah, I get all that. So, anyways, my thoughts were this morning, we're living in the past. I mean, if you really just stop, we all get caught up in our daily routines, the daily shows, the daily challenges, the daily arguments, the daily differences. The list goes on and on and on. And we get, and most people, I don't think most people can really watch YouTube channels, and I get all that because it takes time out of your day just to sit around and watch YouTube channels. And if you're a very, very active, busy person, you just don't have time for that. So, there's no doubt in my mind, I have a nice YouTube channel in my perception, but I know a lot of people just don't have the time. They just have too much going on. It isn't that they don't want to listen to me or watch it. It's just time. And that's the biggest thing you hear all the time from people is your videos are too long. And I have cut them down, for the record. I have started making more shorter videos. So anyways, I think myself, we're living in the past. We are so going opposite. We're not living now in the future, but the future is driving us into the past. And you can say, well, how does that make any sense? Well, let's just kind of stop for a second and look what's going on. Let's just look at the cars, because the conversations can become political conversations, but we live in a democracy. So if you don't want to talk politics, and I'm not here to change your views of who you're supporting or not supporting. I am just sharing ideas for people to step back and say, yeah. So think this through on the car market. Just in the car market, you can go to the boats, you can go to the motorcycles, but let's just focus on the car market. We have gone backwards 30 years. Yes, at least. Okay, what is that? What do you mean by we've gone backwards? All right. Pre-internet capabilities. If you go back to the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, even early 90s, really the 90s, did you have the availability to get on a computer and shop around for vehicles? For the most part, you didn't. You had to go to the local 7-Eleven or store to find the Auto Trader magazine to see the used car listings and new car listings. So the availability of you having knowledge to actually shop around and try to figure out the best deal was much more challenging. In the car dealerships, you'd have to drive all over the place to figure out what one car dealer is selling this for and what other car. You didn't know what that car dealership had. Very challenging. It was a heyday for the car dealers. I never realized what's incredible. Me being a car fanatic guy, I never knew that these car salespeople would make serious amounts of money. I mean, there's car salespeople I know for a fact. Just you go back 20 years ago, they were making $1 million a year. Yes. I have people I know personally that worked with these people and making $1 million a year. Now, they had government contracts, so they had kind of a bigger base of customers. But the point is, I never knew back in the day that the car salespeople was making 100, 200 grand a year back in the 80s and 90s and plus. So it's probably a good thing. Well, I don't know. So, but I have a whole different lifestyle, a whole different life, because you got to live in a car dealership to make a living. So for all those car salespeople, I get it. It's not an easy job because you have to live to make your money. But the whole point is, here with all the advanced technology that we have today, now more than ever, we have incredible access to infinite information. But yet today, borderline buying a car is no different from back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. What does that mean? You're paying premium price. There's no negotiation. Right now, you go to a car dealership, I know it's changing now, but through the pandemic and where we are right now, the position of the dealership has been, be so lucky to be able to buy it. This is the price, no negotiation. Yes, we marked it up 20 grand, 10 grand, whatever. There it is. All right, okay, this is 1975, 1978, whatever. So with us going forward, all this technology, we're actually going backwards. We're living in the past. Right now, we're living in the past because we're doing business on buying goods, and you're paying premium price, and you're paying extremely expensive price for things. Even the point that the car payments out of whack to the percentage of your income. So we're even going further back where people couldn't even afford cars. Keep in mind that if it wasn't for the credit system, the car industry and the housing industry and every other industry wouldn't even be able to survive. You need credit to be able to manage your money to buy things. And that's how the manufacturers and homes have got one up on us, because they know that people will finance it, and so they can just make it more money. And then the danger is we had such low interest rates, they can even charge people more money, because you can justify for $700 a month at 1%, 2%, 3% payment on a car payment. In the car's $60,000 versus if it was 7, 8, or 9%, you buy like a $40,000 car. The manufacturers have seen that this giveaway money let them just continue to jack the prices of cars like never seen. So there's just one example in how we're living now in the past. We're actually now paying premium price for things, but we have all this technology around us. I just show computers in my office, and I have all this information that I can just search and try to find what I want, and then haggle with people through the internet instead of drive around a car and spending days and weeks trying to finagle a deal, which back then, good luck. The car, you didn't know what car dealership had what in inventory without driving there. So you think about that aspect. Then you think about how we brought all this new technology, the robots and the transportation sector of more efficient supply chains. And here we are today, but we're living in the past. We're in the challenge right now that we can't get things made efficiently. And it costs a lot more money. So it's like we're going backwards. Even though the whole talk is we're going forward with technology and mankind's getting better and blah, 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 blah. Is anybody stopping to just kind of look around right now on how things are more challenging than ever for us with all this technology and all this information? And yet you kind of go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and it wasn't as efficient because they didn't have the technology that we have today. So, yep, we're being told because of all this, the semiconductor chips. What has that created? Well, it's created cars with incredible technology in them, but it's created incredible havoc for the automotive industry and other industries to be able to get that to make their manufacturing process continue to get completed. So the technology in the cars, even to a point that I think a lot of people would just pass on the technology. They would be like, I don't want the heated seat, the heated steering wheel. I don't want the massaging seats. I don't want the blind spot. I mean, who knows? I mean, what I'm trying to convey to that in the automotive industry is the semiconductor chip is the main reason that we're supposedly having major challenges of getting cars built. Or I should say cars actually delivered. Cars are getting built, as we see, but they're sitting in lots waiting for chips. So it's back to, we're going backwards in efficiency. If you go to the news, think about the news. When I grew up, there was like ABC News, NBC News, and CBS News. For the most part, those were the three channels that you could watch and get your news and information from. Go to today, fast forward, and more than ever in our country, it gets mean, it gets nasty, because you're labeled. If you're an MSNBC person or CNN person, you're labeled. If you're a Fox person, you're labeled. But stop and think about it. We all now more than ever listen to just basically like 3 different networks. I know there's many other networks out there, but what I'm saying in general, here is all this information technology in front of us. And it's an agenda from each network to appease the voter base to that political party. And yet here with all this information, here we are, arguing amongst ourselves because we're just kind of drawing all our information and content just from a select few media outlets, which is even more intriguing that you go back so many years ago, the media had a control on the TVs and the newspapers. But yet today, more than ever, the social media machine has control. We're hearing about how, like Facebook and other social media accounts intentionally misled information to get things kind of done or persuade people to think or do things or vote a certain way. This is propaganda that's been around for ages through newspapers. So for me, it's incredible how today, as a society, just our society, this country, that we all think we're progressing and getting better. But if you stop right now and look at what's going on around us, you have to say we're living in the past. We truly now are living in the past. Look at gas and oil. Think about this, on how back in the 70s, there was an oil crisis. It was a deliberate oil crisis. But yet today, here we are, and we're borderline, there's another deliberate oil crisis. Because the green agenda doesn't want fossil fuels. So in just our own country, this is a known fact. I just read this in the Wall Street Journal. Now, it could be wrong, but the Wall Street Journal claims that we went from a net zero exporter, but now we're a net zero importer. So basically, the domestic oil isn't in our favor for us to help be a world commodity trading product to compete in the market to try to stabilize oil prices. So, and that goes back to like the 70s. That was a huge challenge for this country. We didn't have the infrastructure of the domestic oil, and we were relying on the Saudis for oil. And there's a whole political driven thing that happened to Saudi Arabia and Iran. If you're going to there's just too much information, don't need to go down that path. But the point is, here we are, borderline living in the past. And you can connect the dots with the cars. Meaning, back in the early 70s, the muscle cars were being now shut down and phased out. Yes, 1971, 72, that's it. The heyday for the Mopars, the Chevys, the Fords, the big block motors, the big horsepower cars. The government stepped in and shut that down, where they were now making all these smog motor cars that totally ruined the muscle car era. Well, what's going on right now? The government's stepping in, and it's going to ban the sale of these high-performance cars. Yes, they're forcing the green agenda electric vehicle. So it's like we're back to the early 1970s. That's what I talk about in my videos, why I bought my Hellcat Charger Y-Body, Red Eye, my Hellcat Y-Body Challenger Red Eye. That's why I both have the Challenger and Charger Red Eyes, because there's no doubt in my mind, this is like the early 70s of you picking up a Hemi 426 Hemi Cuda. And yeah, you bought one of those. And one day down the road, how much is that worth? Yeah, I think these things are going to be very sought after, because the heyday of the Ice Age is literally lights are being turned off. Yes. So we're living in the past as mankind. So even though we all think we're getting smarter and better and more efficient and nicer, it seems it's actually the opposite. Even the point, it seems more in today's society, in this country, there's a division among us. I mean, who hasn't heard we're going to have a civil war? Who hasn't heard these words used in the media and politicians, that there's such a division in this country that there's going to be a civil war? So we're going back in time. We're living in the past of the anger and frustration. What's driving that, right? Well, I just talked about how it seems like there's just a certain amount of media control. It's just we have so much around us to learn, but yet we don't. We don't learn. Do we learn by our mistakes? Isn't that what history in the past is supposed to do for us? Well, right now, I'd have to say it's not working very well, because more than ever right now, as you know, we're in very challenging times, even with Russia. I mean, what was the take down that wall? Reagan, President Reagan, Ronald Reagan, wanted Gorbachev to take down that Berlin Wall to separate the East and the West from Russia to Germany, and they took it down. That was supposed to be like the symbol of a union, of people trying to make things work together instead of against each other. Oh my gosh, are we in the Cold War like never before again with Russia and even China? But for Russia right now, what they're getting away with, what they're doing, I mean, we're living in the past. We're going back to the past, where the war is creating incredible financial hardships in the world, which that's what wars do. So for me, on my YouTube channel, I'd like to share my ideas and views and thoughts, because I think that we're all so fixated on what we think we see but what we don't really understand. I mean, I think more than ever today, sadly. I mean, to me, the race thing, I think, is more than what I've witnessed in my lifetime. I wasn't a teenager back in the 50s and 60s. I was just a little boy in the 60s and 70s. So, to me, sadly, we seem to be having incredible divisions of what's an agenda-based narrative. I mean, I look at the inner cities and what the government has created by entitling people to sit at home and have babies and get paid to have babies, and what the government. I mean, you'll even hear, a black, very astute individual talk about how the government ruined the inner cities. I mean, I'm not embellishing here. If you do your research, there's incredibly successful people that are black. I mean, I don't get why people think because you're white or black, why can't you be incredibly successful? But that's the race. That's the race card, sadly. And the reason I bring that up is because we're literally going to the past. The inner cities have created their own incredible hardships and challenges, and it's all because of a governing body that supports it. Well, if you kind of stop and think about what's going on for that community, they're not advancing. They're going backwards. It's a known fact right now that the inner city schools, the level of education is just beyond believable. That unfortunately, the inner cities communities are just being pushed through school, and they're not getting a real education, and they're just being thrown to the streets. And the pandemic even magnified that. So for me, I'm not here to create, hate here or create anger. That's not my channel. That's not my goal here on my channel. My channel is more about me trying to share with others how do we become better citizens? How do we become better individuals? And vehicles revolve around that because the change of society, transportation changes with it as well, which is we're seeing that the green agenda wants to see everybody riding buses and trains and people riding bicycles and walking around. Green agenda doesn't want to see these cars. I mean, the green agenda's goal is they'd rather not anybody even have their own vehicle. And that's another thing. If you stop and think about it, we're living in the past more than ever. More than ever, people are more self-sufficient at home because they have so much access to get things delivered to their home. So it's like the good old days where someone lived out in the country and they had their own vegetable and they had their own farm. So they had the capability they had the chickens and the cows and the goats and they had the vegetables. So they were self-sufficient of living off their own land. Well, that's going on again, but even more than ever, people don't have to get out and travel like they used to because of the technology has brought us the capability to stay home and have goods and things brought to your house. And even people come to do things for you, and you can look in the internet and you can get a lot accomplished from remotely working from home. So the message this morning here is all about how I think that more than ever, I'm drinking my coffee, so it's early morning and I get a little cough choked up, but the whole message is I think we today more than ever are living in the past. And I think what's unfortunate with that is the past wasn't a good track record of how we behaved and how we managed our time and how we managed our energy and transportation. So it's just incredible of what is the underlying goal more than ever in our democracy and our governing bodies in this country. What are they trying to do? I mean, what is really going on? Because it just seems to me more than ever, the word is misinformation and brainwashing, and the list goes on of where you can get all nasty and mean. And I say this all the time: being mean's easy in life. Being really nice and compassionate, that's much more challenging. Yeah, going out and helping others and caring about others, yeah, that's challenging. But more than ever today, look at the crime. It's just incredible on how today, and there you are, we're going to the past where you didn't have the technology and information and the cameras to see the reality of the abuse of our society. But yet today, more than ever, you're witnessing people in subways being killed. You're witnessing people in the general public through video surveillance systems of people being beat up, stabbed, robbed, shot, more than ever. But we have all this technology. But yet there's controls, and that's something I really should talk about is you're foolish if you don't think that people in power are the reason for things happening. You're foolish. I am a business owner. I have been in and out of doors. I'm not embellishing to you of thousands of businesses. I mean, I didn't get where I am in my life today by sitting at home looking at a computer. I have walked in out of so many doors. I have seen so many people. I have seen so many different situations and circumstances because I beat the streets. That's how I became successful. And what I've seen, what I witness is when you have a change of leadership, yes, sadly, the change isn't usually always for the better. Or, yes, the good news is the change leadership comes in and they know how to make things work. I'll give you an example right now because I've talked about me maybe buying a Toyota Tundra truck. Is that deal ongoing? It is. And that's what I tell people all the time is I just magically appear in my video. I'm like, oh, looky here, I'm going to go buy a truck. And here's the thing. You just have no clue that how long I tried to get the truck deal done. I could have tried to get that truck 6 months ago. You didn't even know about it. I could have tried to get it 3 months ago. Didn't. Finally, the deal pans out. So, yeah, today, will you see a video of me driving over to a Toyota dealership and picking up a truck? I don't know. Last night, my buddy that's a person I've known now for over 10 years, incredible finance person that moved on from a dealership. And so last night, he kind of portrayed like he's got something done. I don't know. He said he called me this morning. So here's the point. On living in the past. Well, in the past, there was a incredibly successful Toyota dealership here near me. Incredibly successful. Incredible talent. Incredible people. Just great environment, great people. And I went there all the time, bought my Toyotas. Well, years ago, the key guy that ran that was siphoned away from another big automotive conglomerate, and he left. And initially after he left, nothing really changed that radically. Well, over time, he siphoned off all the key people. And then like for my finance friend, he left the dealership even before that even happened. So over the years, this is now like 5 years, over the years, the dealership has deteriorated. So today, to the point, that dealership that used to be like the number one Toyota dealership in this Mid-Atlantic area, nothing. Because it has managing people in that dealership that don't know how to run it. They don't know how to run it. And since it's a big conglomerate of many, many other dealerships, why the owner doesn't step in and throw that person out and put different people in there, I have no idea. But yes, I have friends that are in the conglomerate of other dealerships, and they would say right now, off camera, yep, that dealership's been running the ground because of leadership. It's all about leadership. It's all about a vision. It's all about a compassion. It's all about trying to help others. I talk about this from my Think and Grow Rich steps of to me, the Bible of success in your life, of the 12 steps and becoming a better person and successful. I'm not going down that road this morning, that conversation, but the whole point is the powers to be right now, unfortunately, are not to our advantage. And I'm not talking just about one person. I'm talking about you have incredible business behind politicians. So it'd be very easy for me to start going off one person. It's much bigger and deeper than that. That's just a person put in place that's being controlled by big business and big agendas. So, people get mad. Well, the sad part is we have a political party system that feeds off the money machine that enriches them to be put in office to enrich those that put them in office. That's all it is. So sadly, right now, the big business that's empowering the political powers to be to drive the agendas and the direction of our country right now, these are not the right business people we want to be controlling our country. We need to get a different business group trying to get this country back to the basics. And I'm not going to go into all that. But anyways, the whole point of this conversation this morning is we're living in the past. we're witnessing right now with the ice age, that's going to be what the 70s was. We're going to literally watch the whole high performance ice age disappear here in the next few years. And I know Ford's going to continue to build the ice for their Mustangs and stuff. But we're now in a much more faster phase of phasing out the ice age. That's what I'm trying to convey here, and that's what happened back in the 70s. It wasn't them phasing out the ice age, it was them phasing out the high performance cars because of all the emissions concerns and the smog motors, which they didn't have any power. Like I can remember my dad's 1976 280Z. I think it had like 120 horsepower, maybe 140 horsepower. I remember the Z28s, 1978 Z28. I think the thing had like maybe 180 horsepower. Yeah, Camaro Z28. Woohoo! You know, whip-de-doo-dah. You know, just dogs, man, dogs. So yeah. Anyways, everybody's take a step back and just kind of start looking around, and I think you're going to start saying to yourself, "Wow, we truly are living in the past." But yet, the narrative is more than ever is we're living in the future because we're being told how the future plays out. But if you just kind of wake up and look around, you're going to realize that we're going back to the past more than we are going to the future. All right, everybody. Hope everybody has a great, blessed day. And do I have a Toyota Tundra story for you? I don't know. Stay tuned to see if that's the next big adventure, or it just may not play out. And I told my good friend, I said, look, if this thing isn't going to play out, it's no biggie, man. It's not a big deal. It's all right. That's all good. There's no doubt in my mind that something bigger and better will come if this doesn't. So God bless, stay safe, and stay tuned for some more Ice Age TV.